Hello, friends, and welcome to Figure Study, where we have an Astrid in the booth. Hello, Astrid. Yes, we have an Astrid, and we also have a refractor. Not just a refractor, but the special kind of toy-centric design. Yes, hi, honey. The special toy-centric design that was released on Hasbro Pulse and just came out a few days ago as of this recording, and I had mine pre-ordered and it came in and now I'm doing it, and so here we are. I don't have the purple versions of Refraktor. I basically was going to get them, and then when I saw that this came out and pre-ordered it, I was kind of like, what reason do I even have? So no retail refractors to compare these to, but we could still take a look at the set as a whole. So hi, you gonna help? I have them all in their little spaceship modes just to kind of show that you can still do that with this set, and it looks pretty terrible. I mean, I understand that they wanted to do it because, that's what the original toys were designed to do. You're really gonna lay down there, huh? I understand that they wanted to do what the original toys could do, but it just doesn't look great here. Hi. The color distribution is not great for what these turn into, and it's also not great for showing off with a cat in the way. Here, hang on a sec. There we go. Sorry, honey, I'll put the camera back on you in a minute. But yeah, the colors are just very plain, very kind of meh. They don't really work that well when you're looking at them as in the ship modes. Particularly this guy, that bright yellow for the bridge section is just not great. That bright yellow is not great. All right, I guess we're doing it this way then. They work in the sense that when you have them all lined up together, they do kind of work as like individual ships in a small fleet, I guess, or squad. But the colors just aren't great. I'm particularly not fond of the way the distribution works on this one, where it's that like giant block of red, giant block of black, giant block of red. It's just weird. Of course, these modes are kind of tertiary and very unimportant in the grand scheme of things, particularly this set, which is designed more to mimic the look of the original G1 toy with like the individual colors and stuff like that. So yeah, I'm basically just showing this just to kind of get it out of the way and show that you can do it, but just because this is going to be fun to do with with a cat in the way. Just to give you an idea of how big they are, here they are with 1/2 of Skytread. They're just planks with guns sticking out of them. Nothing interesting. But let's be real here. We all know the only reason that Skytread is being used at all is just for that deluxe Siege comparison. And he's the only deluxe Siege figure that I still own that I've actually done a video on, so that's why we're using him. But anyway, let's get things transformed. Since the transformation into robot mode for all of these is exactly the same, I'm just going to go with the checkerboard design guy because, well, he'll probably show up best on camera. And here we have our Robo Trio all transformed up. And yes, okay, one very slight transformation difference. The guy in the middle here, you just, instead of tossing this piece off to the side, you just plug it into his stomach. And that gives him the shutter belly. This I like a lot better. The robot modes work so much better than the... Hi. Yes, she's still here. The robot modes work so much better than the vehicle modes because the color breakup makes so much more sense. And here I feel like I can actually talk about it a bit, and just how much I appreciate the fact that these all look like individuals, even though they're all mechanically the exact same figure except for the fact that this guy has a shutter stuck to his stomach. I also like that the color distribution itself is different among the figures. It's not just like, oh, the colors are different, but like the way it's spread around is also different. Like in the middle here, we've got gray arms all the way through, gray thighs, but then this kind of lavendery, bluey plastic for like the torso, waist, and pretty much everything below the knees, with like little bits of detailing here and there, like the darker metallic paint for the shins, the green and silver in the chest there. Then you've got this guy, where it's mostly gray all the way up to the thighs, with like little hits of accent colors like red in the feet, yellow in the knees. And then you've got this blue for the thighs and the arms, but then the torso and like pelvis area are like a more metallic-y blue color. And of course the red one, which, hi. Yeah, gonna boop? No boop. Then the red one, I think is actually my favorite in terms of just the way the color is used. Because you've got this, just from the bottom up, you've got some nice silver feet, then the rest of it is red, but then you've got black for the shins with like little silver detailing, silver thighs, and then gray hips for some reason, I guess just for the quality of the plastic, which it's fine. Like it's definitely noticeable that that's silver instead of gray or gray instead of silver, but I think it's still kind of, it's close enough. I can kind of ignore it. But then like the arms, rather than being one solid color, you've got black shoulders, black fists and forearms, but then the biceps are gray. And then the black pelvis, red torso, but then a little bit of black in the chest to kind of tie it all together. It looks good. It looks really good. I like how the individual robots look. And because, of course, I still have them, we're going to do this. You can see them with the Perfect Effect Assault Force bots that I still have. And you can see how, again, they are individuals. I like that. I mean, the color... And then Rob unceremoniously knocked the entire camera over. The coloring is definitely different across them. Like, you can see how they do evoke their counterparts. Like, shutter stomach, gray chest, red torso, blue torso. Like, it all works. Okay, well, amidst the the Perfect Effect figure removal, I have lost an Astrid, so we're just gonna spread these guys out a little bit more. And yeah, I think like the individual robot modes work so much better than the individual vehicle modes. But then there's also the accessories, because of course there are. So as is the norm with the regular retail refractor, that's the purple one, you get the gun and lens piece that works as like a gun and shield. So all of them have that. The two on the ends also have their unused shutter pieces. Then there are some individual bits, like the camera flash, the camera grip, and the viewfinder thing. So, just going to go over putting on the new accessories, and then I'll finish kitting these guys out according to the instructions. So, just pop the viewfinder apart, and there are these hinges on the inside. You want to kind of rotate these around. So you can see here. And what normally happens is in camera mode, which we'll see in a minute, like this pegs into the holes in the shoulder there. So by swinging it around, now this will peg in and they'll stand out further. So you slide that into place, just peg it in. That gives him his refractor shoulder pads, or reflector shoulder pads. So that gets him outfitted. And again, I will handle the lens stuff and tripod stuff in a minute. This guy, he gets the flash attached to his shoulder for some reason. And I'm just going off of the instructions. Obviously, you can fan mode these out to your heart's content. Now, this grip actually comes apart. You pop it open here, and that hinges out, and then this hinges up. And there are two pegs here. The lower peg here pegs onto the shoulder and gives him some kind of enormous shield thing, and then this just is supposed to curl around his back for some reason, and I kind of hate that. But yeah, that's that, and now let me get them all their weapons. So here they are according to the instructions, with all of these bits distributed, which I don't particularly like this because it leaves parts, and I hate leaving parts. You get the two shutters for the two guys on the ends and one whole piece of the lens. Like, I don't know why they decided to do that, but this is according to the box. So one thing that I've that I prefer to do to get rid of these stupid things is just stick them onto their butts. And that makes them not really a problem anymore. Keeps them out of the way, keeps them out of sight, out of mind, all that good stuff. I mean, realistically speaking, unless you're planning on using the individual ship modes, you really don't need to keep 2 of those lens bits. You could just toss them into the box and leave them there. But it's a thing. Unfortunately, still leaves this. So, what I tend to do is pop this off and pop this in place here as a second kind of shoulder shield, and then he can just hold this as a gun. So now he's got 2 guns, and it's better. I'm still not a fan of this sticking off of his arm there. You could give it to this guy, you could, which I think I will do, instead of having it sticking to his shoulder, you can have it down here, or flip it around like this, so it's more of like an arm bracer thing. Yeah, you got options. And I'm glad you have options, because the default way that they have you to accessorize these guys is not great. But here you have Refraktor as the individual bots, and here the individuality shows a lot more. It's not quite to the extreme as the Perfect Effect set, obviously, but I still like how they kind of distribute the accessories in different ways among the different bots. And I also like the fact that because everything is modular, and because Siege is designed for, parts to be kind of split across the board, it actually makes it pretty easy to not really customize them, but just you can kind of dictate how everything looks to your liking. And I appreciate that. Okay, so size comparisons. Actually, you know what? Let's move some of these fellas off to the side, because they're all the same height. There we go. Now size comparisons. Here's 1/3 of them with a more standard size deluxe, and you can see they're still a little bit shorter. Definitely less bulky, but still not that much shorter. There we have a more typical Siege Deluxe, and you can see a little bit shorter than typical Siege Deluxe too. It's just kind of how it worked out. And finally, with the duck tank. Alright, so with all that out of the way, I want to just do a quick once-over on, well, no, not this guy. Do a once-over on this guy, because he has the brighter color scheme that makes the various designs kind of stand out more. So we're just going to take a look at him up close so you can see all of the nice detailing in there, because that's just kind of how these are now. Lots and lots of tech, I guess greeble would be the word for it, all over the place. I feel like the over the use of texture with this set is a little bit out of place, because it's meant to be more evocative of the G1 toy, and I feel like this amount of texture on all these little bits, like everywhere, it looks great, but like I feel like this amount of texture seems out of place on something that's, let's be real here, is meant to turn into a camera. I feel like it works better if you consider them, turning into their vehicle modes, but the vehicle modes are lame and don't really work with this particular set that well because of the color scheme. So yeah, it's just not, I'm not saying it's like, a negative that you should avoid the set or anything like that. It's just a little thing that's like, I feel like they kind of, this amount of texture just doesn't work so well for what this set is intended to be. But that's also what the original molds were used for, is that they were meant to be, ships that as an Easter egg could turn into a camera, rather than a camera that still has the ship modes. I kind of like how the design in the chest there isn't uniform. It almost looks kind of like a dolphin or something, but I like the fact that it's not just like a symmetrical thing. They all have pretty much the same head, just there we go, just different colors. But again, they're different colors, that kind of helps set them apart. At least the red and black guy. These two are very, very similar, but it's Reflector or Refraktor, so similarities is fine. All right, let me de-equip everyone, and we can start with transformation into the mode that everyone actually cares about. And this just slides out there. There we go. And then these swing back in. Swing back in. And the tab here will go right in there. Right in. Nope, I have this totally the wrong way around. There we go. So this tab go in there. And that just kind of sandwiches together. And there we have that, and we can deal with that later. Okay, let me get him out of the way so we can work on the accessories real quick. I'm just gonna sandwich these guns together, and you can see they're all the same, where they've got like this kind of tab on one side, slot on the other, so you just sandwich them together to make a tripod. And that holds pretty darn snugly. And then you've got these pegs up top here, the peg into here. You just line it up, push it in, and there you've got a nice solid tripod. Next are the lens pieces, and they're also mirrored, and you've got these tabs and slots here, these kind of bits that sandwich together here. And it's a little tricky to get them like solidly in place. I was having this thing fly apart on me before when I was trying to put it together, just because some of the pegs were a little too tight, but at the same time not tight enough. But with enough squeezing, it all kind of sits where it should. And then we're left with a camera lens. Yay! All right, so as I said, we've got two leftover shutter aperture things that are completely unnecessary for the camera mode, so we could just toss these in a box and leave them. We really don't need to hang on to them, but it is what it is. And let's bring in this guy for the camera mode transformation, because they're all going to transform into their box mode exactly the same, so we're going to use this guy because he hasn't been getting much of the spotlight. Okay, now we've got 3 boxes, and it's time to start attaching stuff before we turn them into a camera. So, take this guy, and this little bit here will kind of attach and fold around. You want to peg this in like so. Put those pegs into... There. You want to put these pegs into the center, not the peg holes at the toes, but the peg holes at the centers of the feet. So peg that in, then this comes down, and then this wraps around and kind of pegs into itself right here. There we go. And that makes for that. For this guy, all we do is take the flash, and there's an off-center peg there that'll just peg into the center of the foot there. There we go. And that is a teeny flash. And then the viewfinder thing. There are these bits here that peg into the shoulders, much like how they did in robot mode. But what you want to do is you want to put it down first and then push it back. And that will lock it into place. As you can see, it'll hold it into place. So when you take it off, you want to pull it forward and then pull up, because that will disengage those bits there. So there we have that. And for the heck of it, let's bring in our lens, and you've got any number of these smaller tabs. You basically want to have it oriented so that one of the seams is pointed straight up. It's pretty simple. It doesn't really matter which way. So do that, and then the smaller tabs will tab in right here in this little bit by the clear plastic. So that will line up. It's difficult to do on camera. I get the irony of that. So there we have that. And we can stick everything together. So it's just a matter of lining up the pegs and peg holes in the various spots. And they just go straight together. And I will say, These hold together a lot better than the than the Perfect Effect set. I still love that set, but it's got its problems. That is holding together really solidly. And then we take the tripod and it just plugs in right down here, and voila! There we have Refraktor as a camera, looking like a camera. And again, we've got these two extraneous pieces, which I hate and will probably keep in the box, but you can, if you want to, peg them down here, or the way they come in the box is they're just pegged into the stomach sections of their respective robos on the back there, just to kind of keep them out of the way. And there we have that. So yeah, Refraktor's camera mode, Siege Refraktor's camera mode is not bad. It's a little lumpy, a little bit weird in places. I'm particularly strangely kind of thrown off by how tiny that flash is. It just feels like it needs to be proportionally larger than all of the rest of this. Like, the rest of it I think is fine, and I don't think the flash is necessarily out of place, but it just looks kind of tiny. Aside from the flash looking a little tiny, I don't know, it's like the form of the camera is fine. The overall shape, it looks like a camera. You know, you've got the lens, you've got the flash, even though it's tiny, you've got the viewfinder, it's just a big chunk on a tripod, and you've got a pretty convincing looking grip there, and the shape totally works as a camera. The thing that kind of throws me off about this is the coloring. And I know that's weird for me to say because I was talking about how I really like the different colors used for the individual robot modes, but the problem is, in the G1 version, in the Perfect Effect version that I have, and in the retail release, you still had cohesion in the camera mode with the colors. The thing that really throws it off here more than anything is this obvious blue for the chest area there, and then this lighter gray for the legs on this guy. In the other versions, the two guys on the ends all had similarly designed, similarly shaded legs, and so that kind of made the design look a little bit more cohesive. It made it look more like this is an actual camera that breaks down into three surprisingly different looking robots. Here, because they went a little bit too different with the color schemes, particularly again in the legs, when you're looking at it from the front, this looks a little bit messy color-wise. Not enough to turn me off the set or anything like that, but, you know, it is a little bit disappointing. And if we move this guy off to the side, I can show you exactly what I mean as I bring in the much smaller Perfect Effect Assault Force set. And here you can see, like, the Assault Force set, yes, the individual robots are very different. And, you know, we saw that before, and you can see in the back, it's definitely not, you know, a cohesive color scheme from the back. But from the front, which is where you will be looking at the camera from, this looks much more cohesive because these legs are the same color on both of the flanking guys. Plus, it's got a larger flash that I just accidentally popped out. There we go. But yeah, it's just a little bit like, you know, you've got one thing that looks much more cohesive and another thing that looks kind of slapdash just because of the way they decided to do the colors. Not a deal breaker by any means. I need to keep stressing that because I don't want people thinking I'm hating on this because I actually really like this set. But, you know, I feel like they could have handled that a little bit differently, and it probably would have led to a much stronger looking camera mode. Sorry, I'm going to stop nitpicking. It's just a little bit disappointing. But anyway, you can see here in camera mode, this thing is, with the tripod, taller than a standard deluxe and definitely bulkier. I mean, it's three robots turned into cubes and mashed together, but still. Here they are looking somewhat out of place next to a proper Siege Deluxe. And here they are with the duck tank. Oh, one other thing I want to cover before finishing this up. There is one other accessory that this camera came with, and that is this little thing. I'm sure this is from the cartoon somewhere, like some kind of electric gremlin, I don't know, but basically it's got little peg holes on the bottoms of the feet. There's a little peg up there, so you can just kind of peg it on there, and now Refraktor in camera mode has a little electric gremlin riding it, which is cute. These are just these are just gonna stay in the box. I'm never gonna turn these things into their ship modes again now that this video's done, so those can go away. I kind of wish that you could do more with these sections that flip out too, because there's some nice detailing there. But nope, they just flip in and hide in the chest, and that's kind of where they're going to be staying, because these things are never going to turn into ships again. You can even see there's like some nice molded detailing on the insides of the chests too, so yeah, I don't know. And then I lost several minutes of audio because Audacity decided to completely garble things because I dared to record for longer than a half hour. Anyway, I know it's going to sound like, and it probably does sound like, I'm really, really griping about this set. I don't mean to, because I do like it. I like it a lot. And I feel like as an official release, an official reflector of a sort, even though they had to change the name, which I feel like we haven't gotten an official reflector, like actual reflector that turns into, the 3 robots that turn into a camera. I feel like we haven't gotten that in a really long time at an official capacity. Aside from the retail release of the Siege figures, which, were just individual deluxes that had a little Easter egg mode. For what it is, I think it's cool. It's just, there are certain things I kind of wish they had done better, which, to reiterate again, because I am a broken record who just always has to talk about the same thing over and over again, primarily I just wish that the flash was bigger and that the legs on this guy were a little bit more closer colored to match this side of the camera, so it looked a little bit more cohesive in camera mode, because camera mode is the whole reason people are buying this set, right? I feel like that can't just be me. If you don't want the camera mode, then there'd be no reason to buy this set, because you could just get the retail releases and be content with that. Unless you wanted the individual robots to look different, which I guess you could do that too, but it comes with all the extra bits that are specifically for the camera. But that's enough about what I think of whatever this is called, the Hasbro Pulse version of Refraktor. I don't know, the Refraktor gift set. If I can find an official name for it, I'll have it down at the bottom of the screen here. But that's it for that. What do you all think of this thing? Is this a set that you'd want to order off of Hasbro Pulse, or are you good with the retail releases, the purple Refraktors? Because, the purple's more cartoon accurate, this is more toy accurate, but then this kind of makes a more complete looking camera because it's got the viewfinder and the flash and all that. This set is I think 70, 75, 79, something like that. So you're kind of paying 10 to 20 bucks extra for the little electric gremlin, the camera grip, the viewfinder, and the flash, and then different paint schemes. I don't know if that'd be worth it to everybody. But whatever your thoughts, feel free to chime in down below. I always enjoy hearing from you all. And while you're at it, also feel free to like, subscribe, or if you're feeling generous, you could buy me a coffee. Any of those things would make me a happy Rob. And remember, art is more than meets the eye.